Good morning, everyone. I thank you for joining this session. We will be starting at 10 o'clock. If you can just bear with me, I just want to get everyone else to join. I'll just humbly request if you can keep a pen and paper ready to take any notes, because there may be some technical information I'll be giving. So if you could keep a pen and paper handy. A recording of this session can be sent to everyone, not an issue. And I will be putting all my contact details on the group chat shortly. So if any of you want to receive the attachments, any documents, I'll be very glad to send this to you. And I would strongly recommend checking out our YouTube channel. We have a LinkedIn profile. I've carried out many of these sessions, and I hope if you can share it with people, because the information I'll be giving today, this information is something that even banks, immigration, HR, they don't give it themselves because either they don't know or they don't want to share the right information. So I'll be giving you all the details. We'll be starting at 10 a.m. And if you can please bear with me. Thank you very much.
What's up? Okay. Yes, Papa. Ja, men sätter laptop här nu. De camera staat nog aan. Mijn geluid staat nog aan.
Mhm.
Thanks, it's cool. That's what we really does.
I don't want camera. Wait. I don't want to turn this off. Okay, that one.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. I know Carol is traveling to the UK, so I just want to thank her for setting this up. I'm going to be sharing my screen to you in a moment.
Started.
Can you let me know if you can
To your right.
if you can if you can see the screen?
We can see your
Yeah.
screen from
Yeah.
outside.
Yes,
This
yes,
is,
we can see it.
it says the importance of succession planning in advance. You can see that then.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much for everyone joining. Just give me a moment. So again, thank you, Carol, for arranging all of this. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining this session. This is just an eye-opener on the importance of this subject and trying to educate everyone on this matter. I will be covering international law, UAE law, the default law of how your assets will be distributed. That's via the Sharia principles, which is the default law of the country. I can just please request everyone, if you have a pen and paper handy, if you want to take notes. And like I said, this is really for information more than anything else. If you have questions, please don't feel embarrassed. If there's something you do not understand, stop me. I try my best to refrain from using any complicated words. The way I feel is somebody teaching or telling me something, I would want it to be said in a language that I could understand. So I try to keep these sessions as simple as possible. This session is being recorded only because if you want a copy of this session, I'll be glad to share it with you so you can go through this in your own time, and you can, check on some of the questions and answers. And let's begin now. So the topic is called the importance of succession planning in advance. Now, why am I saying in advance? Is only because when it comes to dealing with the unfortunate timing of someone passing away, is not only about just having a will, is having all the documents put together. You can call this folder the death file, the black folder. Everyone has a different word for it. I know it's a very morbid subject, and I try my best to, not to use too many death words, but I can't think of another word. So if I do sound slightly morbid, please bear with me, because it's not a nice subject. We always tend to brush this under the carpet. I know it could create animosity within the family, arguments, and people always think of the worst, that if you talk about the subject, it's like inviting trouble. In some cultures, people just think it's bad luck talking about this, but it's a fact of life that we come to go. So it's important that we obviously plan for the inevitable and just be ready. Now, for the sake of argument, I put a lot of emphasis on the husband passing away and the wife surviving the husband. There's two reasons for that, or three reasons, I should say. Number one, if you look at insurance companies, why is it more expensive to insure the male than the female? Because even according to insurance companies, the life expectancy for a male is less of a female. Secondly, I mean, I've been to many funerals, and whenever I go to the UK, extended family members, when we go to pay their respects, it's funny, you go into a graveyard, you will see majority that the men have passed away, and women is very few, men is a high. It's just something I've realized. But for me, the third reason is my 20-year experience in the UAE. The amount of death cases I dealt with, I can just tell you, it's probably 5% or 10% have been women, majority are men. So what I'm trying to get to, when I'm putting emphasis on the subject, or I'm giving you case examples, I will be putting more emphasis on the husband passing away, because the husband usually the breadwinner. He's the one who has the credit card, the bank account, the mortgage, the life assurance. The wife is just usually a second signatory on the checkbook, the debit card, credit card. Husband pass away, the wife is dealing with the red tape of the country. dealing with the family politics, which to tell you the truth, that's the worst case. I can deal with the red tape of a country. When it comes to family politics, I can't deal with it. It's too much. So it's usually when the husband passes away, the wife is dealing with everything. And these sessions, I try to target mainly the wives for them to understand this is what you better be ready for. Now, if the wife passes away, yes, there will be an emotional loss for the husband. I hope so. But when it comes to when it comes to the paperwork, dealing with the custody of the children, dealing with the bank accounts, I'm sorry to say, from my experience, because the husband is the one who's sponsoring everyone, he is in more control rather than the other way. So let's begin. The importance of succession planning in advance. Like I said, any questions, please stop me. Okay, so this is a feedback form. If you want to take a picture of this, please do so. So you can send us your details and I can send you all the attachments, the presentations. I can send you all the details.
Yes, God.
From, oops, sorry, there's it there. So if you want to, you can obviously just take a snapshot. It will take you to a feedback form, put your details, and I can send all the information to you on this presentation and other attachments. I'll be going back to this feedback form later on, so you can go there. Now, this is something very interesting. Many people ask me, if I pass away, how is the estate divided? Now, I can tell you straight away, but if you want to download these apps, you can get that information and share it with family and friends. So let's take an example. And if you want to write this down, if the husband passed away, you club everything he owns together. When I say club, meaning the bank account, the car, the property, gratuity, life insurance, savings, anything, everything. Club it all together as 100 shares. Now, if the husband pass away, the wife will take 12.5% of the 100 shares or 12.5 shares. The parents of the husband will take 16.66 each parent, and the balance would go to the children, 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. Now, if the asset, say the bank account, the property is in joint names, the wife owns 50% anyway. So let's take an example. You have 100 dirham in a bank account. If the husband passes away, the bank will block the 100 dirham first. They will block it. Then when it goes to court, then what happens is that the wife will get her 50 dirhams back. And out of the husband's 50, look at that as 100 shares together with all the other investments and whatever assets they are. She will take 12.5%. So when people say to me, oh, the wife gets very little, I will say no, she takes 50% plus 12.5. So technically 62.5%. But the asset must be in joint names. Now, unfortunately, whatever the reasons are, the husband is usually having the 100% in his name, which means the wife takes 12.5 off the 100. So just to go back, if there was 100 dirham in the husband's bank account, the wife would take 12.5 dirham. If it was a joint bank account, then she keeps 50 plus the 12.5. Now, all these calculations are done in the court. Please know, I'm talking about the law of the country. So if you pass away without a will, the laws of the country is applied. Now, I want you to understand this, that this issue or this division happens in every country in the world. That's why you have a will. If you don't have a will, the law of the land applies. Now, I'm not here to tell you which law is better. Australian law, UK law, UAE law, you can go to Canadian law. I'm not here to tell you which law is better. because I can find faults in every law. The issue is people don't draft the will, they don't prepare the will, and then when it comes to dealing with execution, then there are problems because the families are fighting. But the court themselves are not making the problem. The court will respect the will, but have the will. So just to go back to that case example I gave to you, is when it comes to passing away with no will, then the husband's estate is divided 12.5 shares to the wife, 16.66 to the parents each. If there's no parents, it goes back to the pot. The wife still takes 12.5, and the balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. Now, if the wife passes away, it's the same case whereby everything is clumped together. So if there is a joint bank account, the husband will keep 50 shares. And out of the husband's 50, sorry, the wife's 50, look at it as 100 shares. The husband takes 25 shares. So where the wife takes 12.5 from the husband is taking 25. So his share is doubled if the wife passed away, but the balance, 16.66 to each parent. And again, 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. So these inheritance calculator app, which you can see the links. This is the first of its ever kind in the Gulf, where you can type in the legal heirs, put an amount of money, and the app will work out who gets what. So I'm just giving you a common example everybody asks me, but to tell you the truth, the shares will keep changing depending on who's alive at the time of execution. So now, who are just wills? I'm just going to give you this little breakdown. I joined them back in 1989. That will probably tell you how old I am. I came into the UAE in 2005. We were the first company to set up. And as the name suggests, we are only into wills, probate, inheritance. Like I said, it is a morbid subject, but I'm just glad to tell you all we are here to help when it comes to these specific matters. So what is a will? A will or testament, so it's the same word, same terminology, same meaning. It just in Europe, they use the word testament more. For me, it's a will, but it's the same document. It's a legal binding document that coordinates the distribution of your estate after your death. Remember, after. So what you do in your lifetime, you buy a property, you buy a car, you change jobs, you employed, you're self-employed, you got inheritance, you got an expensive painting. Whatever you do in your lifetime, you get divorced, single, married, whatever it is, that's one thing. The will works at the time of death. Now, the issue is, and people always keep making this mistake, estate is not property. Estate is what you own. Property is part of estate. So if you have a bank account, a car, company, you have savings, it's all part of your estate. If you have a property, it is part of your estate. So don't limit estate to property. Many people think, oh, now that I've bought property, I should make a will. I said, wait a minute. What about your savings, your bank accounts, your gratuity? What about your life assurance? This is all part of the estate. Number 2, a will allows you to communicate your wishes clearly and precisely, including appointing guardians for your children. You can also lay out your funeral wishes. Number 3, unlike a trust or a holding company, a will is only activated on your passing away, and the will can be amended, revoked, cancelled anytime. Point 4, a will is one of the most important legal binding documents you will ever draft in your lifetime. And our job is to try and make this process as easy as possible. Now, what happens if you pass away with no will? The first 3 boxes I've put in green, well, it's all green, but the first 3 boxes, I want you to all understand I have no control. Number 1, bank accounts. Now, I'm sorry to tell you, the bankers here, either they're misinformed or they're just giving wrong information. The moment the bank is informed of death, they will block every account. What people are not understanding is they're blocking both the single and the joint. So joint accounts in this part of the world is only for operational, not either or survivor. Either or survivor means that if one person passes away, can the other person still operate the account, still use the account, still take money out the account? That is called either or survivor. The concept here is joint for operational. There's a fundamental difference between joint and either or survivor. So what I keep telling everyone is you have a joint account, it's good, but it will be blocked. Now, how does a bank find out somebody has passed away? How do they block the accounts? There's one of 3 ways. Number 1, if you're working for a company, they have a human resources department, HR. One of the obligations of the HR is to tell the bank where your salary is going into, if that employee has left the company or if the employee has passed away. So usually it's the HR that is informing the bank that the employee is no more. When the bank is informed, they push the button, the full account is blocked. They will send a message to central bank, and then central bank will alert every bank in the UAE this person has passed away. So all single and joint accounts will be blocked. The second way of them finding out is that if you have a mortgage with the bank, you have to tell them to freeze the account so that they could claim on the life insurance policy. Otherwise, they will continue taking money out of your account, which they shouldn't be doing so, because they need to freeze the account so that they can claim the money. So it's very important. You have to tell the bank, or they could be charges, late payment fees, interest payments. So you have to tell the bank. The third reason, or the way of how they find out, is when you cancel the visa, the immigration department, the embassy, central bank, hospital, the police, they're all connected. Once your name is in the system, there's nothing I can do. Now, these 3 issues, I cannot tell you in which order, how quickly it will take, but it will happen in due course. This is where the problems start. So you imagine if the husband passes away, I'm sorry if I'm sounding sexist here, but my intention is just to let you know that if the breadwinner's no more, his bank accounts are blocked, the wife is struggling. We're not even talking about the will yet. We're not even talking about the division of the estate. We are not even talking about any other legal problems. We're just talking about the immediate problems that the family will be dealing with the moment the breadwinner passes away. So I just go back now. Husband is no more, or the person is no more. Single and joint accounts are blocked. I can't help you. The other issue is to collect with the exception of the golden visas, all dependent visas are cancelled. So if you don't have a golden visa, you have a normal visa, to collect the death certificate, you have to cancel all the what do you call it, dependent visas. And this is something I have no control because that's an immigration matter. So remember, if you can, or if you're eligible for a golden visa, I recommend you take it out, because how the golden visa works is that if the breadwinner passes away, if the breadwinner, what do you call it, passes away, then to collect the death certificate, you have to cancel all the dependent visas. If there's a golden visa, they will allow the dependent visas to run its course. And then on renewal, it will be cancelled, or you apply for another visa. Number three, so you imagine these are the problems. Number three, the home country is informed of death. Now, many people think freezing of the bank accounts only happens in this part of the world. I'm sorry to tell you, freezing of the bank accounts happen in many countries in the world. South Africa, Canada, the Philippines, France, Germany, Italy, Spain. Bank accounts are blocked in many countries in the world. Now, they usually block it there because of inheritance tax. But when it comes to the UAE, they're blocking the accounts to make sure your debts and liabilities are cleared locally. And who are the legal heirs? So just to go through quickly, you pass away, forget will or no will. Boxes number 1, 2, 3, I have no control. It's going to happen. Now, why am I calling this topic succession planning in advance? I'm going to give you housekeeping tips that you should be taking on board now, and so that you can implement this. If, for your reference, if you tell me I want to draft a will in 3 days, in 2 days, I can do it. But if I tell you to get the housekeeping tips in a particular order, you can't do it. You can't do it. That, what do you call it? You can't do this in 1 week. It's impossible. You can't even do it in a month. Having a will is part of a jigsaw puzzle. Putting the pieces together is where it takes time. Drafting the will is part of the puzzle, but it's not the full puzzle. So now we're going to go down the other complications. You pass away, the local law is applied to the distribution of your estate. I'm sorry, I've been told the volume sometimes going down. Mine is, mine's all okay. I just hope the volume's okay from your end. A question, single account, only his, also mine. It depends who passed away. Husband go, it's blocked. Wife goes, it's blocked. Single is blocked and joint is blocked. Now we're going through the local law. I told you, if the husband passed away, the wife takes 12.5 shares. His parents will take 16.66 each. Balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. I never mentioned the brother, the cousin, and whoever. It's within the immediate family. But for more information, please download the inheritance calculator. Your life policies, gratuity benefits, workman compensation is blocked. The moment the HR finds out person has passed away, they block everything. They can't pay the gratuity because they need to calculate this. But your bank account's already blocked the moment the bank is informed. All your other investments are frozen, including off-plan properties. So don't think for a moment you're buying an off-plan property, the breadwinner passed away, and then before you think you have the even if you have a will, you go to the developer needs the court order. So this is why it's important you understand, what do you call it, that when you pass away, these are the complications that will take place. So the first 3 points is happening anyway. Going down the list, all your other investments are frozen or delayed. Family arguments is always the problems. Everyone is coming out the woodwork. Before you know it, you've got all the extended family hoping they can get a slice of the cake. Ex-partners, if not divorced, so you are separated, not divorced, suddenly even your ex-partners will come to claim their share. Assets in your home country will be distributed as per the laws there. Every country has their own law. I told you the shares is 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. However, the control of the children's shares, the court decide. It's a very expensive and time-consuming process dealing with the red tape. And inheritance tax of 40% could be applied to the estate here. Before I go to the next slide, are there any questions, please? Okay, so we just go to the next slide. If you have a registered will, now please note, a registered will is registered in the court, not a handwritten one at home, not one you bring from your home country. It's registered in the court in the UAE. If you have a registered will, what can you expect? Well, number one, expedited distribution of your assets. In other words, whatever's written in the will, the court is going to accept it. They will be sending the orders to transfer the assets from A to B on the will. So they do this within 6 to 8 weeks once you give them the paperwork. Your wishes are applied locally, irrespective of your religion. So in the past, if you was a Muslim by religion, you were restricted to only make a will of up to 1/3. Now you can make a will of 100%. The will covers your estate, life policies, gratuity and of service benefits, any workman compensation, death in service benefits. Everything is covered in the will. Even your investments will pass to the people of your choice, including off-plan properties. No family disputes. Everyone know what they're going to receive. Even they try to challenge the will, which has happened in the past, the will is there. The court is honoring the will. Let me give you a real case example. Husband passed away and willed everything to his second wife. The daughter contacted me and said, why did my father will everything to my stepmother? Don't you think he should have given me something? Even according to the UAE law, according to European law, I should get at least 50%. I said, I'm sorry, your father made a will and he left everything to your stepmother. Why? There's nothing I can do. I just take the instructions. Yes, I tell people, be fair with the family, you know, don't look at giving everything to one person. Make sure the children are compensated, especially if they are, if they are married or if they're older, they are living separate. I would say be fair. Excuse me. That share the estate with everyone. The daughter tried to challenge the will, but the court said, sorry, we are applying the will. So the stepmother took the 100% as per the will. You can insert an exclusion clause to block any ex-partners. So if you're worried someone's going to come and cause a problem, you can block them. It's a very cost-effective process dealing with the execution. If you have children from any other previous relationships, you can protect them as well. You can also give a gift of money to a family member. So if you are sponsoring someone and you want to leave some money for them, you can do that. Nominating a local executor is very important, especially if your family is in your home country, so they all don't have to come to the UAE to do with the execution. Somebody locally can go and do all the work. You can also leave a provision for a charity. But for me, the most important reason why you should draft a will, and I'm sorry to say many, many people are overlooking this, is protecting your children. I had a case about over 10 years ago where 2 parents passed away in a car accident and the children were at school. It was very tragic. The school didn't know what to do. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. you know, they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to call. They were worried, who's going to take the children? Who will take them out of the country? Who's going to deal with all the paperwork? The school was clueless because, to tell you the truth, they've never dealt with a situation like this before. So at the end, they had to call the police to put the children into protective custody. And the police had to contact the embassy to locate the grandparents in the home country. By the time the parents were contacted, and it's not a simple process because there is a lot of documents required, birth certificates, death certificates, a lot of paperwork is required. By the time they got the visas to enter the UAE, and they had to get money to try and pay for the tickets and, all the hassles that come with it, it took 3 months before the children were given to the grandparents. Now, where were the children in that 3 months? Please don't ask me this question. That's why you draft a will. And when you draft a will, you appoint both a temporary and a permanent guardian. What's the difference? A temporary or an interim guardian is somebody living local here in the UAE, preferably in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, wherever you're based. And that person will be there to look after the child immediately in case, God forbid, something happens to both parents, or if you're a single parent, if something happens to you. The temporary guardian could be a work colleague, it could be a friend, a neighbor, someone from the school, could be a distant relative, but it's got to be someone living here. And I always recommend to people, don't give me 1 or 2, give me 5 people, because the UAE is a very transit country. People come and go all the time, more the merrier. And please note, a will is the only document that allows you to appoint guardians. This is the article I wrote more than 10 years ago, talking to people, trying to educate expats on the importance of guardianship. And this incident didn't only happen in the UAE, it also happened in Riyadh as well, Saudi Arabia, where the parents passed away, and it was a lot of problems dealing with the custody of the children. So why draft a will? Number one, to protect your children. I'm sorry to say, people only thinking about their money, their properties. If you have children, minor children, protect them first. Number two is upholding your wishes in the UAE so that the court accepts it. And obviously ensuring your estate is distributed as per your wishes. Now, you remember I told you that a will only works when there is a death certificate. So let's say, God forbid, and everything's God forbid. Let's say, God forbid, if you're brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma, can a will work? The answer is no. Now, we all know about the missing Malaysian airline MH370. We all know about this. It's not a secret. Everyone knows the plane disappeared. But what many people don't know is that when the plane disappeared, the Malaysian government couldn't issue the death certificates immediately, because if a person is missing, there is a waiting period of up to 7 years before you can legally declare them dead. So if a person is missing, presumed dead, there's a waiting time of up to 7 years. This is not me saying it. This is the sort of the international benchmark every country follows. So let's say, I'm just giving the Malaysian airline as an example, because people thought they were dead even after a month because they couldn't find the plane. I said, wait a minute, they're still alive until their death certificate is not issued. But if you go to the hospitals, go to the ICU, how many people you'll see on the life support machine? A will cannot work until there's a death certificate. So this is why I recommend a power of attorney. A power of attorney only works, a will only works when there is a death certificate. No death certificate, no will can work. That's why a power of attorney, I always recommend this. A power of attorney is a double-edged sword. It can be used and misused. Now, in the beginning, I told you about the housekeeping tips. Now, please note, these housekeeping tips is not something I read from a book. This is something it took years to put together. So please make a note of this slide. I can email it to you. I can send this to you. It's not a problem, but I just recommend please pay particular attention to the slide. Number one, points number 1 and 2, it's combined. So all I can say to you is that when it comes to bank accounts, have it in the following fashion: A, B, C, D. So A is the joint account, bank A. I say that again. The joint account in bank A. Then the husband has a single account in bank B. The wife has a single account in bank C. And then the children have their bank accounts in bank D, D for Delta. Now, why am I saying A, B, C, D? Just imagine if the husband passed away, the joint account is blocked, A, and B is blocked, but C and D is not blocked. If the wife passes away, the joint account is blocked, C is blocked, B and D is not blocked. So keep the accounts in 4 different banks. I'm sorry to tell you this, banks won't give you this information. Banks will tell you, keep all the accounts in the same bank. But what banks are not telling you is that they know a customer via a customer ID number. When the customer passes away, they don't block the account number, they block the customer ID number. Any linked accounts is also blocked. That's why keep them separate. Joint is good only for operational, not for right to survivorship. You take Australia, they have right to survivorship. Singapore has right to survivorship. UK has right to survivorship. You go to Jersey, they have right to survivorship. India has right to survivorship. But majority of the countries in the world, I'm sorry, they don't have it. So these housekeeping tips 1 and 2, it's combined, use the A, B, C, D. Number 3, life assurance. Why are they freezing your bank accounts? Is to clear your debts and liabilities. Do you know that until your debts and liabilities are not paid, you cannot even take the money out? That's why I always tell people, keep life assurance. Your bank loans, personal loans, mortgages has to be settled first. I don't sell life insurance. I don't even open bank accounts. Number 4, I'm sorry to tell you, is the biggest problem. And this is not here, this is everywhere. Do you know when you're dealing with a death case, trying to claim the money from the court, you have to give them a list of assets. But I feel like between husband and wife, there's always a lack of transparency, sorry. Where is the money? So you need to be preparing an inventory. You need to be preparing a list of assets. You remember in the beginning, I said you should have a death file, a black file. It's a folder containing everything you own. That folder needs to be shared. It needs to be accessible. You need to write everything down. So how many bank accounts you got? Put the statements. You have a property, title deed, life assurance, write it down. Many people who are working with the airlines have they are telling me they have completed the beneficiary form for the life assurance that the airline gives. Whenever I ask the employee, have you got a copy of that form? They say no. I say, well, how do you know you completed it? That's why it's important you make a list. That's why you need to make that file. Now we have created a 45-page document that I can gladly share with you where you can complete this inventory. Now, this file inventory, I don't want it back. This is for you to complete, for you to share and to update. The will doesn't change. If you telling me I'm leaving everything to my partner, everything means everything. But what is everything? Define everything. Don't expect the court to go on a witch hunt, checking with every department. Oh, this person died. Can you check his system? Did he have an account with you? That's not the court's responsibility. That is a responsibility of the executor, the person who is named in the will, who is going to go and deal with the execution. So making and preparing a list is very important. If you don't mind me saying, I think is equally important than the will. Because if you don't have a will, the law of the land will apply. But when it comes to the money, if you don't know where the money is, you can't apply any law. This is why banks are getting richer and richer, because your money that you haven't disclosed to your family is sitting in the bank. And I guarantee the bank is not going to contact you. Oh, do you want your money? Number 5, all the women who are working, go and get your separate visas. Get off your husband's sponsorship. Because if the husband is no more, they will cancel his visa. Your visa's cancelled. Children visas are cancelled. So go and get your separate visa. Get off your husband's sponsorship. When it comes to the children, you can sponsor them. But provided you have a separate visa. Now, people don't know this, but you can apply for an investor visa. If you own a property, the land department is issuing the visa. Even the wife can apply for the visa in the property. She's a homemaker. She can apply for the visa and she can sponsor the children if necessary. But if you're working under your husband's sponsorship, get off his sponsorship, get a separate visa. By the way, I don't offer visa services. But these are the problems. Bank accounts are blocked. Debts and liabilities will have to be paid. Your visa's cancelled. You are clueless where the money is. Then the law of the land is applied and you're scratching your head thinking, what am I doing here? Who am I going to speak to? And then before you know it, you've got gold digging relatives coming in to try and stake a claim from the estate. The problems are there, I'm sorry to tell you. The problems are there. These are why the housekeeping tips I'm trying to explain to you how important it is. Number 6, the beneficiary forms you've completed. Get a copy. Check if you have completed it. Update it. You'll be surprised. People fill in the form when they're single. They get married, have children. The form they completed is not working because that person who was nominated may have passed away. You didn't update the form, and then you pass away, and the family is running from pillar to post. Number 7, always have your marriage and children's birth certificates fully attested up to the Ministry of Justice, not Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Justice. This is separate government stamps you will need. Number 8, any MOUs you have, if you're running a business, partnership, get them completed. Number 9, letter of wishes. Funeral arrangements, organ donation. We have a template. I'll give this to you. This, like the inventory, get it completed, update it, share it. You don't know how upsetting it is when I'm dealing with a death case and the parent says to me, I don't know if should I bury or cremate my child. I know you're thinking, the father asking the question, I'm sorry to say this to you, people are living longer. And it's the middle-aged people who are passing away faster. I don't know why, but that's a different topic altogether. Number 10, download the app, which I've given you the link. However, our focus is on points 11 and 12, the will and the power of attorney. This is the jigsaw puzzle that I keep telling people. Get this in order. It's very, very important. As you can see, the letter of wishes, the list of assets, it's very important that you get this into order because this is how the court needs all the information. Life assurance to clear your debts and liabilities, separate bank accounts for the wife and children, fill in the beneficiary forms, separate visas, letter of wishes, document attestation. This is all part of the succession planning. What information is required to draft a will? Number 1, passport copy, local ID. Number 2, the guardians, temporary and permanent, more the merrier. Number 3, who's executing the will? Remember, executing is the job of this person who will deal with the paperwork. It can be the spouse, it can be another person. How you want the estate to be distributed. Just some very quick FAQs. Can a will from overseas work locally in the UAE? When I say will, let's say somebody pass away post-death. You have a will and a grant of probate, which is a legal document from the home country. If you bring that here, can the court accept it? Yes, but it's very expensive, the whole process, because you got to get every document attested from the home country, translated into Arabic. And I don't know if you know, but to get the grant of probate can take 1 year. So the whole process will take 2 years. That's why it's important you register a will locally. When do you update a will? Well, when you get married, you get divorced. If you're changing the beneficiaries, the guardians, the executors, can the executor be a guardian? Yes. So the person looking after the children, can they also deal with the court? The answer is yes, but usually giving too much responsibility to one person can be challenging. I'm talking in the event if both husband and wife pass away. So let's say the wife's sister is going to become the guardian of the children if both husband and wife are no more. Do you expect her to go to the court and deal with the paperwork? That's why I say separate them. What is the age of maturity in the UAE? Well, it's 21, but if you ask me, it should be 25. Because if you give $100,000, dirhams, pounds, euros to a child, 21, who is in the middle of university, they're going to misuse it. So for me, age of maturity should be 25. Is there a concept of a joint will? No. Is either single or mirror? Are the assets in the will attached to the will? No. Keep it separate. How long it takes to draft a will? 3 to 5 days, even sooner. Are there any inheritance tax in the UAE? No, but subject to change. Where do I keep the list of assets? Keep it with the person who's executing the will. Can I prepare a codicil for any changes? No, you have to update the will. Now, are debts passed on to the family? The answer is no. But until you don't clear the debts, you can't take a penny out. Can a Muslim prepare a will? Yes, 100%. Do you need a lawyer to execute a will? No, anyone can do it. Do all assets pass to the husband from the wife? I told you, husband's only taking 25%. What happens if you have a special needs child? You appoint a special trustee. Where can you open bank accounts for children? You can open it any bank. Just speak to them. Unfortunately, banks don't market this because they don't make money. Funeral arrangements. You put this in a letter of wishes. Can a power of attorney be local or global? Power of attorney is local, which means you got assets in another country. you make a power of attorney separate. Beneficiary versus nominee form. Remember, whoever's named as a nominee in the nominee form, that only makes that person a caretaker, not the beneficiary. Are the wills generic? Of course it is. This is covering all your assets. You don't need to list the assets in the will. Not informing the banks of death and using the power of attorney, not recommended. If you get caught, you'll be in a big problem. Can you take the will to the bank to unblock the accounts after the person passing away? No. You need, only the court can send the orders. How do you clear your mortgages? Just make sure you have life assurance and make sure the life assurance equals the mortgage. So let's say you owe the bank 1 million dirhams and husband and wife is having 500,000 dirhams each. That's not right. Each person should have 1 million so that the bank is fully paid. Can you appoint an executor for the business only? Yes. Will or foundation, that's a separate topic. That is mainly for people owning multiple companies, properties, and so forth. What about cryptocurrency? Make a separate list, share this. What happens to company bank accounts? It will be blocked. I know it's case by case, but they're usually blocked. What happens if you have debts with Bank A and you have a credit balance in Bank B? Well, sorry to tell you, until you don't clear Bank A, you can't take the money out of Bank B. If anyone's into cryptocurrency, you'll find this article very interesting. Very, very interesting. That's why I said to you, make a list of assets. I will be sending a copy of all these attachments. So if you please need it, make sure you fill in or send me your details. Now, registering the will. You got a choice of 3 courts: Dubai, Abu Dhabi, DIFC. I cannot tell you, trying to understand each court, it was a challenge, but I'll just tell you in a nutshell. Dubai and Abu Dhabi's government. They don't market, they don't advertise. That's why they're not popular, because no government entity market themselves. DIFC is not government. They're semi-government. So what happens? If you register your will with DIFC court and spend 10,000 dirham, post-death, you go back to DIFC court, they will issue the grant of probate, which is a legal document. Then you take the grant of probate back to Dubai court to get the orders. So you spend 10,000 dirham to register a will, you go back to the court, it takes 4 months to get the grant of probate. You take the grant of probate back to the Dubai court, they issue the orders to the banks and the land department, transfer the assets from the deceased to the beneficiary. If you go to Dubai court to register a will, it costs 3,000. Post-death, within 4 to 6 weeks, they send the orders to all the departments. Abu Dhabi, if you want local and global, Abu Dhabi is the best. It's the cheapest, and you don't go there, it's a video call. And my personal experience, it's the best court because they're super efficient. This is the bullet points. What I just said to you, I've prepared a slide. Again, I'll share this with you on the courts. Other services we offer. This is the app I was speaking to you about. We have 2 apps. You have the inheritance calculator and the afterlife app. This is also downloadable, but due to time constraints, I'm just going to the next slide. You got the feedback form here. So please, if you want any information, just click on this and our contact details. Now I'm just going to read through the questions that people have asked me, and there is a special rate for all EPC members. You pay 50%. So I've put it on the group chat. Let me see if it's still here. I just put it in again. So, sorry, I just gone to, yeah, it's all there. So I'm just reading the questions. When you say all assets are clubbed together, I assume this is only assets in the UAE, correct? Only the UAE. All the shares you mentioned adds up to 50%. What happens to the other 50%? So the point I was trying to say, if you have a joint bank account and there's 100 dirham and the husband passed away, the court or the bank will block the 100. When you go back to the court will send an order to transfer 50 to the wife. Out of the husband's 50%, that is treated as 100 shares. If you have a child 18 and up, can the child be a guardian to the younger children and still stay in the house until a grandparent? You know, yes, technically, yes. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the age of maturity in this country is 21. I'm just saying, in case the authorities are involved, it's always good to have a senior person, someone maturer, to deal with the authorities in case they get involved. But if you have an 18-year-old child, technically, yes, but I'd rather you have a more mature person. Remember, when a child reaches 18 years of age, they tend to leave the country for further education. So chances are the eldest child may not be there. So I'd still recommend backup guardians. Maybe they're not required, I don't know, but I'd rather you have someone there to be on the safe side. Can the wife work under an investment visa if the company they work for doesn't sponsor them? Look, visas are always an immigration matter which is subject to change. All I'm trying to get to is that if the wife can get a separate visa, at least if the husband's no more, she doesn't need to leave the country. Now, if you're talking about her working, that's between the employer and her. I'm more referring to if the husband passed away and you're dealing with the cancellation of the visas, don't forget they can still continue living here and they can sponsor the children. If your question's relating to can she work, that's a separate matter between the employer and her. With regard to the mortgage versus life assurance, if the breadwinner lives, why do you need to clear the mortgage if the other owner 50% passes away? Look, if the mortgage is in the breadwinner's name and the partner pass away, respectfully, do you think it'll be easier for the breadwinner to have no mortgage? Otherwise, he will have to think about it. The debt is still there. He's still working. He's still got to pay the mortgage. Don't you think it's better if the mortgage is cleared? It will be less hassle, pressure on the husband. Let's say he wants to change job due to work pressure, or he wants to work shorter hours to spend more time with the children. Don't you think it would be easier if the mortgage was cleared? I don't sell life insurance, by the way. I hope that answers the question. Do we need to do a will only once if something changes, or does it have to be renewed? The will is not renewed. Just don't get divorced or married. Don't change the people. The will is there for life. So someone here, how is the estate distributed? I'm married to a Muslim from the Gulf. Well, if you pass away, you will take 25% if there is no children, and 75 will go to his family. The inheritance calculator, if you download it, you can put this information in there. We have temporary guardianship documents, signed witness and copies with the school. If it's not registered with the court, there's zero value. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but these handwritten signed documents mean nothing. You need to have them registered with a court stamp. You're not going to show these documents to the police or the immigration or the embassy when you're dealing with the children going out the country. You need a court document, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm sorry, this question is upsetting because there are people out there who are issuing these guardianship documents and fooling the public by telling them they will work. But they're doing this so they can get their foot into the door to sell you other investment products, and they give you a Mickey Mouse document. It will not work. Will the UAE will be valid in the home country? Case by case. Why? Because I need to know which country. The will covers everything at the time of death. So you don't need to worry about changing, updating the will. The question, Sandy, in the event of a surviving spouse and children, half of this say will go to surviving spouse. Without distinction between, you got this from an article. This is the new civil law, which has come out, hasn't been tried and tested yet. But let me tell you one thing, everyone's got to agree to the new law, then it will be applied. This is what has been told. Otherwise, if any member disagrees with the shares, it goes back to the default law. I hope I've answered a lot of the questions here, but if you want to ask me questions, you can unmute yourself and please ask me any questions.
Hi, can I ask a question, please?
Of course you can. Yes, Lizelle, please fire away.
Thanks, Mohammed. So I was the person that asked, if you are married to a Muslim from the Gulf and then he passes away and we don't have children, then you said, I will take 25%.
Correct.
However, if we draw up a will those wishes be executed, or does Sharia law still apply?
Like I said, Muslims can now register a will, so it can be done, not an issue now then.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions, please? Okay, is there a difference in taxes paid or whatever? Not sure with having a will, not having a will. This depends on your home country, because if you talk about inheritance tax, it's a very complicated subject. Every law, every country has their own law. So take the UK, for example, between husband and wife, there's no taxes. But when it comes to the children, they got to pay. You go to Australia, there's no inheritance taxes. But if you go to New Zealand, there is inheritance tax. Go to Canada, there's no IHT. You go to the US, there is IHT. So when it comes to taxes, every country has a different system. Sorry to say, it's very difficult for me to know all the systems in the world. And I can cover the wills in the home country as well. If it's South Africa, it can be done. I can do many countries, but just remember, it's also the will needs to be translated into the language. So if you want a will to cover your assets in Germany, you've got to translate the will into German or French or Spanish or Italian. I'm sorry to say it's very expensive, so it's better you just get a separate will. So if there is any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, fill in the feedback form. I will send you the attachments. I'll send you a copy of this recording, and just contact me if you want to take the matter further. We do have another session tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, which will be very similar to the one today.
Hi, Mohammed. I've got a question.
Jamie, fire away.
Yeah, hi. So let's say if this will is drafted as a couple without children, and then like few years later we have a children after that, do we add the name in and redistribute it, or do we have to redraft the new ones?
Look, there's two ways of doing this. Even today, you don't have children, but if you know who the guardians are, I can put them in. So we can keep the will saying children. I don't need to name the children because you will have the birth certificate. But if you know the details of the guardians today, I can put it in the will, saves you from updating it. But if it changes or you can't decide on the guardians, to answer your question, you have to start the process again.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Any other questions, please? Okay, well, look, thank you so much for your time, everyone. Fill in the form and hold on, let me just see. If there's any questions, please, you can contact me or fill in the feedback form. I'll be very happy to give you the information. And do share this information to your family and friends, and they can join tomorrow's session as well. And yeah, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you've taken a lot of information from me.
Sorry, Mohammed, I just have a quick question, please.
Yes, please, Corinne, tell me.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out, will you then advise maybe a couple to, instead of being the executors of each other, to probably get like a solicitor to be an executor? The reason I'm asking this question is sometimes husband and wife, they travel and they leave the children
No,
behind.
there's always a backup. When you draft a will, there's levels. So for example,
Alright.
you say, I appoint my spouse. If the spouse not there, then someone else come in. It's like the temporary guardians.
Okay.
More the merrier. Executors,
Alright.
the merrier. Permanent guardians, more the merrier. Let's say,
Alright.
forbid, the whole family passed away in a freak accident. Where does your money go? We have another level. So the will covers all eventualities.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Mohammed. How are you?
Hi, I'm very
Yeah.
well.
So thank you very much. It's very informative. I've just got one question and
Yeah.
actually a couple of questions. So if we have our assets and investments spread across 3-4 countries such as Canada, Switzerland, Singapore, and South Africa, and Dubai, and we have properties in various countries as well, which is investment properties, no children, and on separate visas, this sort of thing. So will this will, are we allowed to incorporate all of this into this will and then use this will into these different countries, or?
It's possible, but respectfully, maybe you might want to have a holding company. Because the problem is, even if the will covers all the jurisdictions, somebody's got to go to each jurisdiction to deal with the transfer. So maybe you might want to look at a holding company, depending on your situation. If there's mortgages, no mortgages, I think we might need to have a separate conversation for that.
Yeah, that would be
But
great.
To answer your question, the answer is yes, it can be under one will, but you imagine your wife going to every country dealing with a transfer. Having a holding company might be easier and faster.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. We'll be in contact. Thank you very much.
Very, very welcome. Thank you very much, everyone. If there's no questions, and I'll wait to hear from you if you want to take this matter further then. Thank you.